we're finally going to see who will remain undefeated throughout this tournament in this match here.
And they are ready to start things off. I have to say, Simon, this always makes me super nervous to see who makes World Championship. And let's see if the art rate starts spiking here. We are seeing a Robin's list here first with this Jeskai Blink. We saw how strong Quantum Riddler has been throughout the weekend. A lot of consigns to memory, which I feel like has also been a card of the weekend.
Yes, indeed. This is a card that's going to be very relevant in this matchup, especially. It's one way you can interact with, counter the Amulet, counter the Saga trigger that goes and fetches Amulet, counter the Primeval Titan trigger, or stop a Scape Shift by countering the relevant land, such as a Simic Growth Chamber bounce effect. It also, this deck can just provide a lot of board presence early with the Philia into Quantum Riddler combination, and or even just an early Ragavan ramping up the mana. Those are the kind of starts that Robin's going to look for alongside those consigned to memories to slow down the Amulet deck and kind of win in that mid-game section. We see here from Guglielmo, who is playing that Amulet Titan list with 4 copies of Malevolent Rumble in the main deck. This is a big dispute among Amulet Titan players. Do you play Explore or Rumble or Split or both? And how many Green Sun Zeniths do you play? And the answer is apparently 1 Zenith and 4 Rumbles, 3 Scape Shift in this deck. Of course, the main deck, Vexing Bauble, that is so important for some of these matchups here. Not too many free counterspells like Subtlety and Force Negation in the Jeskai deck, but there are still 4 copies of Solitude, and being able to shut those off with the Vexing Bauble can be quite important.
Let's see here our plays getting ready. And Simon, I always love to hear you commentate over Amulet Titan, because I know you also play this deck and you get so many insightful, deep analysis of this deck. So I'm glad that we got a chance to cast here this game, which might be the last game of Amulet Titan of the weekend, but maybe not.
But maybe not.
Starting with a forest here, so looks like Guglielmo?
Guglielmo, yes.
Guglielmo on that play here.
Yeah, so just starting off with a modest forest, no Grazer and no Amulet, at least yet. Something that the Amulet Titan decks can do when they play against decks that have the card Prismatic Ending. It's a sorcery speed answer to Amulet. You might just want to hold your Amulet until the turn you're ready to go off. So you go Amulet into Scape Shift on the same turn. And since the Jeskai deck is not necessarily aggressive, now here we start with a Ragavan that might change things a little bit. Since it's not that aggressive, you can potentially make those types of plays. It seems like Guglielmo just doesn't have a Amulet in hand in the first place, and is quite reliant on this Rumble, it seems. Malevolent Rumble tries to find a permanent off the top. There is an Amulet, there's 2 Amulets,
actually,
and a Titan. So much gas being found off that one. Might just want to pick up the Amulet, or could potentially just pick the Grazer here and ramp towards the Titan naturally. With the Eldrazi spawn and the extra ramp from Grazer, you can just cast the Titan here on turn 4, and it's not very impressive because there will be no untapper. So it's just a Titan fetching up 2 lands, but that may just be good enough, especially if Robin does not have a Solitude.
Yeah, and looks like here Lupi considering and picking up what it looks like the Amulet of Vigor here, but still thinking.
Yeah, so the Amulet actually ramps in the same way because there are bounce lands in Guglielmo's hand. So he would still be able to play the Amulet here on turn 3, and then turn 4 can play the bounce land, sack the spawn, and get to 6 mana for the Titan in hand that way. The main issue with this line is that you then expose your Amulet to a potential Prismatic Ending, like I mentioned before. So it's possible that Lupi will wait until turn 5 to play the Titan, but that's pretty late, especially facing down a Ragavan that's going to start ramping up Robin's mana situation.
That is true, and we see here Robin ready. Robin dead, turn 1, fetch into a shock, which we see there, the self-damage, very common from these decks, down to 17 life. But against Titan, just attacking here with the monkey before playing the land, and the spawn is going to block the monkey. So Ragavan gets blocked, now playing land for the turn, and just passing the turn with 2 lands open.
Yeah, I love this block from Lupi here, recognizing that it's so likely that Robin will just eventually be able to point a removal spell at that spawn, so might as well just chump block with it right now and ensure that there's no Fable of the Mirror Breaker coming down on turn 3. And Guglielmo draws into kind of the perfect card here. Spelunking is much, much better against Prismatic Ending, and also ramps you straight into that Titan on turn 4. I believe in these interactive matchups, the Spelunking is the better card than Amulet in this matchup. And because he now has, an extra piece of untapper here can just run out that amulet into a consign to memory. Doesn't care too much if it gets hit. The question is if there is a prismatic ending to answer the Spelunking for 3 mana.
Yeah, I mean, that Spelunking definitely a problem there for Robin, because Side to Memory did deal with the Amulet, but Robin needs to find something. Now, getting a land here from the fetch. Let's see what land does he choose, and then what follow-up he has on his turn.
Yeah, probably a Surveil land, always eyeing those flages whenever you Surveil, hoping to get one of those in the graveyard. The question is which one to get. That is a small, minute decision that Robin is going to make sure that he makes correctly now that the clock can no longer punish him with a draw, now that we're in the top 4 here. Remember, by the way, these players, they're playing for a World Championship invite. But there are actually a couple people in this world who already have a World Championship invite. Of course, it's finalists from previous RCs of this go-around. And it is the finalists from the Magic Online Championship, of which Lupi is one of them.
So what you're saying is that for Lupi, he already has the invite.
Yes, he will be at next year's World Championship, regardless of if he wins or loses. Robin will of course be in if he wins, but if he loses, the invite might pass down to him. It passes down to the highest seed, and in the other bracket, there is the first seed, Pierre, playing. So if Robin loses here, he's going to pray that Pierre wins this match so that the invite passes down to Robin. That's kind of what's going on here.
So he kind of has 2 chances to make it to the World Championship.
Yes, exactly. Of course, that's not something that really should play into his mind here, as he just has to play his game of Magic and see what happens. As now the Ragavan comes in, hits the Spelunking, not going to play it, just going to run out this Riddler and Ephemerate. And he does get to do the full combination here. Ephemerate, yet not going to the graveyard, gets to rebound next turn for even more card draw. And Robin gets to keep up 1 mana. But does he have a consign? He drew a consign.
Oh, wow. This
is so he can
pretty good here.
Yeah, it's really good because it can counter the easy B trigger from this Titan that's going to come down right about now. And if he can find a Solitude or some other answer to Titan, he will kind of be out of harm's way in that sense. I do think Lupi actually picked up a second Titan as his draw step for turn here, as he now plays an untapped bounce land. These cards are so much better if they come into play untapped because they produce 2 mana immediately. Returns the forest to hand and gets to play a Titan here. A little bit ahead of curve.
Look at that.
And Sign, not countering the Titan, just countering the trigger and leaving Guglielmo with essentially a Colossal Dreadmaw for now. But next turn is going to attack and get even more stuff done. So Robin really needs to find an answer to this, and Prismatic Ending does not count. You can't get up to 6. See here,
Flage here. You kind of needed 2 Flages and mana to cast both.
Yes, that would be one way to... You could actually Flage and Ephemerate it, right?
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that would be kind of a
so you only needed 4.
Yeah. So it would have been possible if he had, if the ending was like the last copy of Ephemerate in his deck, but not to be in this case.
So things are a bit strange here for Robin because he's in a tough situation. Needs to deal with that Primeval Titan, but doesn't have a way to do so yet.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and not that many more draws towards it either. He might just have to stomach 1 attack from the Titan, but that can be devastating.
That's one thing I don't like. It's my opponent, Titan player, attacking me, starting to get lands and getting chances to combo out.
So it is worth noting that Robin actually has a second, like the third copy, I guess it is, of Consign in hand. So can actually also counter the trigger ability from Titan attacking, and therefore does have a little bit more time to try and find that Solitude. And I think for that reason, the second Titan in Guglielmo's hand is going to become a very important piece if it's actually there. I might have missaw.
Okay, tapping 3 here. We might see there's Flage, there's Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So we see that Fable of the Mirror Breaker here, chapter 1, making a Gobbly Shaman 2/2 that whenever attacks makes a treasure token and just passing the turn. So as you said, leaving that 1 mana up, that can be consigned to memory that we know that is in Robin's hand. Now, if there is a second Titan in end, things are a bit more complicated.
Yeah, this is a nice play from Robin here, just developing out the Fable. The next turn can discard the Flage, and if he finds an Arena of Glory, he's going to be able to haste out that Flage, potentially answering one of these Titans, but Robin does not like to see that second Titan here. Is going to counter the Enter the Battlefield ability, but the other Titan can then rumble in here. It might get double blocked, actually, by Ragavan and Quantum Riddler.
Yeah, we might see that just to get rid of that 6/6. And there it is, the attack. What lands can Lupi get here?
So he might just go for a modest Simic Growth Chamber and Tolaria West, just making, like, essentially getting the ability to make another Titan next turn, especially if he expects the double block to happen. He can't really do anything to prevent the double block because even if he gets Otavera and Simic Growth Chamber to bounce the Quantum Riddler, well, he doesn't actually have enough mana to do all of that. I actually wonder if he could have... Yeah, it's actually interesting. He could have played the Primeval Titan with one of his lands untapped. Then he would have been able to get the Otavera right now, but might have not calculated with that third copy of Consign to Memory, or at least decided that it, you know, the upside of floating a red so you can get pay for the haste land was a higher upside than being able to go for an Otavera plus Growth Chamber here. So there's a lot of combinations you can go for. You can even go for the Urza's Cave, which is kind of the, I want to delay my decision and just choose it later. And I even see him here thinking about getting a Forest, which is interesting. I wonder if there's any Blood Moons in this main deck. There is not for the Jeskai Blink deck, so that is not the reason for that Forest being thumped to the front. Maybe it was not really part of the consideration at all. You could also get potentially Mirror Pool here to be able to copy a Titan in the future, but it's pretty risky against the potential Solitude. So this is just a solid line here. You bounce your Tolaria West, and then that's just what it is. A play you can make in this situation here, because right now you actually don't have double blue next turn to transmute the Tolaria West, and you can only transmute Sorcery Speed. So he could have bounced the Gruul Turf so that he was able to next turn bounce the Tolaria West and transmute it.
Okay, here looks like choosing to assign damage to the Riddler, so that means that the Ragavan survives. You know, now let's see what these Fable can do. We get to discard cards, draw cards. That can put Flage in the graveyard.
Oh, this is why Lupi played it this way. Had the Boseiju in hand. Actually wrote that as his favorite card of the weekend. Boseiju, it bails you out of every bad situation. And this way it gets to kill the Fable of the Mirror Breaker before it gets to discard that Flage and risk that Arena of Glory hasted up Flage. So now Robin's position is much harder. And, you know, he's already had his draw step and doesn't actually have an answer for this Titan and can't double block the next one. I will say that, you know, I think my favorite mechanic in the game is double blocking. It's like, just in terms of like game design. I mean, I just like love the double blocking assist in this game, and it's so nice to see it actually happen in Modern, because it does not happen that often in Modern. But yeah, if you gotta get rid of a Primeval Titan, you better line up 2 creatures.
Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. And a Riddler dying for that, no big deal. There's Prismatic Ending in hand, there's 2 Ragavans, and there's 1 Flage, putting another ending in the graveyard here with the Surveil land. And now, going to attack with both creatures, making a treasure token that Ragavan is going to be blocked by the Titan and go to the graveyard.
Yeah, so Robin has 2 extra Ragavans in hand and can make this this attack for that reason. I do wonder if Lupi is supposed to block the Shaman token for that reason, because, like, why would your opponent make this attack? Well, it must be that they just have even more Ragavans. Now gets to do the Prismatic Ending on that Splunking here, so Titan not nearly as scary at the moment, and also, notably, no double blue to transmute this Tolaria West, as we see right here.
Things getting pretty interesting here. Lupi still has that Urza Saga, there's a Grazer in hand.
Okay, so I would love to see this play here. Attack with Titan, get 2 Urza Sagas, play another Urza Saga. It's not flashy, it's not explosive, but you're going to bury Robin in construct tokens if you make this line.
That is true. Let's see if Lupi goes for that line.
I mean, he might also do something that's way better than that. But
I feel like I've seen so many times just players win with constructs from the Urza sagas.
Yeah, it's certainly a thing you can make. I remember, like, you know, when I played against one of the Italian Amulet Masters, Caputi, at some point he did the Titan fetch for 2 Ursa Sagas, and I've never seen anyone do that before, and my mind was kind of blown. I was like, wait, you're allowed to do that? But yeah, you are.
Is that a legal play?
It is.
Why are people not doing it?
I mean, it's the Titan searching up like roughly 20 power. It's pretty good.
Yeah, and pretty impressive. Robin is at 13 life right now. This is the first game here of our semi-finals, and there's a World Championship invite on the line, although Lupi is already qualified. And the art rates are going up, as Lupi here has to make a very tough decision. And is the lens that you get with Titan the most difficult decision that you make in this deck?
I mean, probably. It's hard to say because there's so many like different. Like sometimes the land you play turn 1 is the most difficult decision. So it's like it's a whole range of like difficult points about this deck. It is like. I will say, like, once you get through, like, understanding, like, the different, like, modes of things you can do and unlocking the different options, like, that's, you know, like, half the battle done. As we now see here, the Aborg Racer are going to put in that Ursa Saga and pass here, but no double blue for Lupi here, because I do believe I was probably a misstep last turn, bouncing the Teleria West rather than the Gruul Turf.
Okay. And it looks like Robin here, deciding on what to do. Only one card in Lupi's end. We know what card it is, but Robin also knows, right?
Yes, he does know that it's a Teleria West.
It was bounced.
Yeah. And it's actually interesting that like the land that Lupi found, he found the Shifting Woodland, which is a pretty good land to get when you have the Titan already in graveyard and already has Delirium. So this Shifting Woodland is going to become a Titan next turn, and then the Mirror Pool can threaten to copy another Titan. He's not going to be too proactive about doing that because it's going to be risky into a potential Solitude, but you kind of know that Robin cannot have Solitude the way that this game has been going. Might just go for the Flage now after attacking and making those treasures a second time. So gets to kill the Titan with Flage from hand plus Flage from the graveyard, and yeah, Lupi just you know, fast tracking that, putting the Titan in graveyard off that very first Flage there.
See, I said some turns ago that he could double Flage as a way to remove the.
Absolutely correct, and it does line up that way.
Now that we have the mana to do so, and those treasure tokens also being pretty handy there. The only thing is that there's no Arena of Glory to give ace to the Flage, which is a bit sad.
Yeah, now actually the play that I was suggesting of making a bunch of sagas might actually just get out valued by the Flage. So probably good thing that Lupi did not go for that line. Instead going for this line where he can copy a Titan and then potentially he can copy a Titan with Shifting Woodland and then potentially copy it with the Mirror Pool as well. But he drew his Summoner's Pact, and now you see again the heart rate got up here. You know, for both of these players, they know that they're in the semifinals of this big tournament, and it's possible that this Summoner's Pact, I guess there's no untapper in play, so there's no like chance of any looping happening here, any comboing, not in the woodworks here. But you could potentially get a Titan, and you could haste it up through the play we've seen before, where you bounce the handware and replay it as your land for turn. But without the access to the Atzavera, oh, he hasn't used the Atzavera yet. So actually, it would be pretty nice if he can get Atzavera to bounce the Flage.
There's a question that Lupi is making, and I have the information here that the question that is happening is the following. If activating the Mirror Pool to create a copy of Shifting Woodlands that was copying a Titan, will I have a copy of Titan?
Yeah, and I believe that the answer is... Okay,
I know the answer.
Okay, that's good, that's good. Okay, I'm going to try and guess.
Okay.
I believe that copying something is a copyable effect. So I believe you do get a token that is the Titan. But I am not 100% sure, because normally when you copy something, you just take the card as is and you just make a print of it. Just so he would just get a second shift.
So your guess is yes?
My guess is that yes, he will get another Titan.
Tweet chat. put your guess. I want to see who's right. You know, I have the information, not because I know, but because the judge told me.
Okay,
Let's
well,
clear
you can
that.
let us know now.
Okay, okay. The answer is yes.
Yes. Oh, man. All right. Okay. I still got it. I still got it.
You still got it,
I out there in
Simon.
battle sometimes.
Yes, you can still do some magic. You could actually, you know, do the judge test.
I have been a judge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
No, I've judged some Legacy events because I didn't play Legacy
Oh, that's really cool.
back in the day, back when I was
know.
like 20.
Imagine going to your Legacy tournament and look, it's Simon Nielsen judging your tournament.
Back then it was just like, you know, this weird lanky kid was judging my Legacy tournament and giving out too many warnings because I thought that's what you were supposed to do.
Oh, you are that kind of judge.
Oh, yeah.
Warnings are there to be
graveyard
given,
order.
though.
That's a warning. That's a warning.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta appreciate our judge, though.
Yeah,
Much
exactly.
love to our judge. Much love.
I do love the judges, and I do love how they like kind of like just like the infraction procedure guide is just like updated and become much more like intentional towards player experience rather than being like a very like this like super strict and punishing you know, frame of rules here. As we now see the shifting woodland coming to Titan, and it's coming in here. I wonder if he's just gonna get the Otavera, but bouncing the Flage here, not that good of a well, and actually normally it wouldn't be that good of a play because the Flage would just be able to be replayed. And then could kill the Titan. The thing is, though, there's no Titan in play. There's only a shifting woodland.
That's true.
So I wonder exactly what his line is going to be. I think he's probably just going to leave the Flage around because it's actually less scary in play where you can only deal 3 damage. And he might just get the Otavera to play later and use the Mirror Pool right now to make the copy of Titan.
Yeah, considering here what to do, but looks like picking up that Otawara and Bounce Land, bouncing the Otawara into hand. So well played here by Lupi.
Yes, indeed. Someone who hasn't played Amulet for that long necessarily, but just picks up in these decks very quickly. Super impressive player, honestly. Someone to keep an eye out for, you know, come the Pro Tour season. Lupi already played 1 Pro Tour here. Oh, actually the Flage is going to trade with the Shifting Woodland. That makes a lot of sense, because that way you can just get your Flage back right again next turn.
That's true, but it looks like...
This prompts the Mirror Pool activation.
So 1 Titan will be dealt with, but there's going to be another one.
Yes, so we're going to get a copy here that is a Titan indeed. So this one will go and get something else. And this might be the time where you go for the double Saga line, because he's kind of running out of other good options to get. Could potentially just get a Handwear Garrison to make sure he can haste later. He can also get some bounce lands and set up for the Summoner's Pact to go and grab that Cultivator Colossus, because now 3 copies of Consign has been used already this game. Actually, it looks like 4 in the graveyard. Oh, one of them is a Riddler. With 3 Consigns used this game, the Cultivator Colossus, which is not normally that good of a card in the matchup, becomes much more relevant. And the way you want to set up the Cultivator Colossus is by just getting some bounce lands and then making sure you have more lands in hand. It might actually be the last 2 remaining bounce lands in his deck if he fetches them out right here.
Tough decision here. A very important one that can shape out the route of this game, which is an important one because this is the semifinals of the regional championship. There's a lot of money at stake, as well as invitations. Although we know that Lupi has an invitation for the World Championship, what Lupi does not have is a trophy that says that he's the regional champion.
Exactly, yeah. And he also, I was about to say, he also doesn't have $20,000. He probably does because he just won the Magic Online Championship.
But he can always have 20,000 more dollars.
Yeah, so it's not like a World Championship invite where once you already have 20,000, it passes down
like,
to
I don't want any
yeah.
less.
We don't do tournaments
need
like that. Look at your bank accounts, your net worth. Yeah, if it's more than the prize winning, then it just passes down.
Yeah.
That would be nice for any student playing the game. You know, you just like finish 41st and then you get your first place prize because everyone else above you, yeah, you just have too much yearly income. So.
Taking a look there at the Lotus Fields. And I think maybe going for the Lotus Field line here.
Okay, that is interesting. I wonder if this is in expectancy of potentially comboing later, or actually, Yeah, I think this is an expectancy of like the Summoner's Pact going to get an Aftermath Analyst next turn, because that will bring back the Shifting Woodland. And this is a thing you can do sometimes if the matchup is slow enough, is you can kind of like perform the loop where you like Woodland Analyst thing, but you don't have the Amulet to like repeat it. So instead you're gonna use your untap step as the untapper. So essentially you can do one Analyst loop per turn.
Wow.
But you can kind of like slowly generate more and more advantage that way.
Aftermath Analyst is such an interesting card. Actually used to dominate Standard back in the day when the Capenna lands were illegal in Standard.
That deck was sweet.
It
Talk about
was
another
super.
deck I regret not playing.
Imagine Titan running one World Soul Rage. The amount of damage that you could deal.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, there's a lot of cards you can run in that deck that would, be so impressive.
Sure.
You just like all of the commander favorites. When you have all this mana that the Titan deck has, it could do a lot of dumb stuff.
Ooh,
Arena of Glory from the top.
Oh, wow. You know what that means? I mean, there is the Otawara, but still.
Remember that this copy token? That is a Titan right now. So the Flage gets to take that down, essentially dealing 6 damage to the Titan right here and leaving Guglielmo with not that much going on, but he does have the Amulet next turn, of course, from the Ursa Saga. So he will be able to use the Summoner's Pact to get the Analyst, and that will potentially be a loop. So as long as he can survive this hit here, now the question is, do you block the Ragavan and prevent it from hitting your Analyst from the top? Because that would be absolute disaster scenario. And he does do that. Takes 8 damage down to 6. You're still safe from a second Flage here. He's got to make sure that he still has what he needs to combo here. And there's only a Ragavan in Robin's hand. So this might be it. The plan was set up from Lupi here, knowing that he has the Saga on 2, that he'll get access to the Amulet next turn and can then perform the loop. That's why he got the 2 Lotus Fields very brilliantly fought for him. And he just goes and gets here. The Amulet, you can see
He knows what to do.
He knows what to do. He set up this plan. All the thinking on the last turn was to set up the play on this turn.
Yes, and I love to see it executing here the plan now to be able to combo and finish out this game.
Now we see here Summoner's Pact. Does it resolve? Yes, it does indeed.
Aftermath Analyst, that's going to mill 3 cards. And then you get to pay 4 to return all lands back from the graveyard to the battlefield. So let's mill the 3 cards first.
Then here comes the fireworks. Sacrifice the Analyst, bring back all my stuff. Lupi knows there's just no cards in this Jeskai Blink deck that can actually interact with this. Wow, what a
So
crazy
many
game.
lands.
We've gone through like a lot of Titans entering and leaving the battlefield, a lot of consigns. Flage being played from the graveyard twice. Now we're here.
Yeah.
Just in the nick of time, Lupi stitches together the combo.
So we do have their sacrification there from the Aftermath Analyst, going to get all those lands into play.
Could you imagine if you had Skewed Mob in this deck?
No. that if we were on Arena, it would crash Arena, because that card used to crash Arena. I think we would just be looping here all day until tomorrow.
Oh yes, indeed. Indeed. And we would be robbing our opponents of their free will.
Yeah.
Ah, see what I did there? It's the other name. You said Lupi, I said Robin.
I love it, Simon. Your magic puns are getting better and better.
But you haven't punned at all this weekend.
I punned with Maria.
Oh, nice.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
yeah, I saw a
yes.
little bit of your coverage, but didn't catch all of it because I was busy.
I saved all my good puns for Maria and Frank Karsten when you
nice.
abandoned me.
Indeed, yeah, I was so busy figuring out how to remove my sleeve.
Yeah. And now because of that, you get punished with no puns.
Oh, there we go. That was a pun.
True.
True.
Damn it. The old habits sneak on me.
Currently, 2 Besiegers residing on the battlefield. They are they're just hanging out there, confused while they're both in play. But you know, there's so many other things going on that yeah, it should be fine. I wonder here if there's anything that Lupi is actually supposed to be concerned with. Like for instance, does he have Delirium yet, or is there any risk to copying something? Oh, he actually drew the Ursa's Cave for turn, so that will make sure that he can get any land he needs to. And he's just explaining to Robin the combo that he's going to perform here. I wonder if he's aware of the thing where you just use the woodland to copy a Titan and then use Mirror Pool to make a copy of that, and that's how you access your infinite Titans. But yeah, this is what's going to happen eventually is we're just going to get as many Titans as possible in play and then haste them all up with that handware battlements.
Honestly, Simon, I am absolutely impressed by this Amulet Titan deck. I'm more impressed that Lupi here has been able to play this deck for a total of, so far, 14, 15, 16 rounds.
Yes.
This is absolutely insane. There are so many different lines, and you have no idea the pressure that is to be here. I mean, you do, Simon, but I'm saying, like, in general, people, the chat, like, we see the art rates here of our players. We do it as a little gig. Of course, the players consent for their art rates to be shown, but at the same time, it shows you how much pressure it is to be here. Some of these players have the art rates of actually doing cardio.
Yes.
On how much stress and pressure it is to be here on the feature match, playing these very complicated decks in an high-level event with a lot of prizes at stake and being watched by thousands of people.
That's exactly what's going on, and the thousands of people wouldn't be happening without you out there in the Twitch chat, in the YouTube chat. Shout out to YouTube. That is my new favorite mode of watching Magic games. Of course, Fanfinity's YouTube channel is showcasing this live stream as well. And now we go and take a look at Lupi's deck. I think we forgot to talk about the sideboard.
Yes, I mean, I think they will show the sideboard, or we can see it here.
Oh, we already showed it. We just talked nonsense over it.
Yes. So for Lupi's side, he is playing 3 Force of Vigor, 2 Dismember, 2 Elder Gargaroth, the 6/6 creature, very interesting. 2 Fire Sprout, 2 6, 1 Bajuka Bog, 1 Gemstone Caverns, 1 Null Elemental Blast, and 1 Vexing Bubble.
I think maybe the Gargaroth is going to come in for this matchup. Because it seems kind of hard for the Jeskai deck to deal with unless they have a Solitude. Maybe it's risky because of the Solitude thing, but I don't know. It's like if the Jeskai deck plays an Ashiok and you play a Gargaroth, well, you're kind of the one who's ahead.
On the other side, we have also our Robin, a Jeskai Blink player, playing 3 Mystical Dispute sideboard, 3 Obsidian Charmaw, 2 Spell Snares, 2 Rat of the Skies, 1 Ashiok Dream Render, which is such an interesting card against this deck, 1 Damping Sphere, 1 Ghost Vacuum, 1 Surgical Extraction, and 1 Wear and Tear.
Yes, this is a quite a sideboard full of variety here. I believe that Robin is going to bring in the hate pieces, the Damping Sphere and the Ashiok, alongside the ways to deal with Ursa Saga and Amulet in the Wrath of the Skies and Wear and Tear. Typically, these Amulet decks, they're going to go lower on their Sagas in the post-board games. They're not going to be as willing to run them out on turn 1 as they are in other matchups, or as they are in game 1. And this means that the Wrath of the Skies is going to be a little bit more, little bit more tempered in how good it's going to be. Lupi's probably also more likely to sandbag his Amulets, playing around Sorcery Speed removal now that it's not just the 3 copies of Prismatic Ending, but also 3 copies of Wrath of the Skies as well. Interesting to me will be if Robin decides to leave in the Teferi, which is kind of unintuitive, but I think could potentially be good in the matchup, because it lets these Sorcery Speed answers to Amulet be played at instant speed. So that even if Lupi sandbags the Amulet, you can still answer it.
That is a good point, Simon, as our players are getting ready here to start, and looks like Robin here on the play, fetching right away. We see Prismatic Handing in hand. Steam Vents, so that normal 3 damage turn 1 that modern players do.
And, you know, it kind of heralds another turn 1 Ragavan here, but this time on the play, and not something that Lupi can chump block with a spawn token like he could in the last game here. So let's see if there is, you know, the best answer to Ragavan, the biggest butt in the animal kingdom. It is, of course, a Boreal Grazer.
That's true. That 0/3 can block very effectively.
Oh, and it's there.
There it is, everyone's favorite. What is the creature type? Beast?
Yeah, it is because Sloth doesn't exist as a creature type, I believe, in the game.
That's sad.
So it's just the beast.
Everyone's favorite beast that is actually a sloth.
But it is a beast indeed.
And he's the best 1 mana slot in this deck.
Oh yeah, it's the beast 1 mana sloth.
Yes, there we go, Simon. I love it. We see Consign to Memory in hand, Prismatic Ending as well. There's a Ragavan in play. So we could try to end the Grazer.
Yeah, we could just end its life and get in with the Ragavan. And it might actually be like a reasonable play because like as it stands, the Ragavan is just kind of out for the count at the moment. And if you want to generate the Crushers and, you know, kind of get ahead on mana so that you can develop your own game plan while leaving up Consign to Memory, well, yeah, you might just like have to make this play. As you now see here, Prismatic Ending finding its target here into the Sabora Grazer, and you know, as much as it is enjoying, you know, I don't know what sort of countryside this is. This looks like it's hanging in front of a mountain.
Yeah, it's floating around.
Time. Yes. No Crumbling Vestige for Lupi. Good thing he has 3 more of those in the deck list.
That's true, and Lupi here playing third land. That is going to be an Otawara, 3 mana now, to be able to play, I believe, 6 maybe?
Yeah, it is 6. And now this Prismatic Ending, you know, it is not going to be able to answer the 6 here. And that is an even bigger blocker for that Ragavan. Wear Tear and Consign to Memory. Neither of these answer the red and 6. So, and this Riddler, I think Robin might have been hoping to be able to just play a Riddler this turn off of the Treasures here, but cannot do that anymore. So might just have to like warp the Riddler and see if he can find something else. Potentially just has to pass the turn, leaving up the Consign.
That's true, and D6 is alone with no Ren around, but
yes,
still a pretty strong one.
It is indeed.
Do you know what's the difference between the Ren and 6 and the Ren and 7?
Oh wait, I mean I don't really know, like, you know, whether it's Ren 6, 7, it doesn't really matter, right? 6, 7, 6, 7.
We have that, we saw that Consign to Memory countering the trigger from the Warp ability, I believe.
Yep, exactly.
Make the Quantum Riddler stay around.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened there. And Robin could afford to do this because he drew that second Consign off the Riddler trigger. Otherwise, I believe he would have just let the Riddler stay in exile. But now, you know, he can let it come into play, and this 4/6 body prevents 6 from attacking and generating value through cards in hand here. But that is a Dismember being picked up from the Spelunking trigger there. And there's still the ability to put a land into play from the Spelunking. So if he has an untapped land alongside this, he can actually attack with the 6. And then if the Riddler blocks, you can Dismember it, just like good old combat tricks. But instead he has a Lotus Field, so no untapped land here. Deciding to maybe sacrifice the Handwear and the Bajuka Bug.
Yeah, Bajuka Bog that already did its job by exiling Robin's graveyard. Of course, it's sweeter when there's a Flage around, but...
Yeah, it's very interesting. You might also want to sacrifice the Forest and Bog, leave the Handwear around, in case you eventually play that Cultivator Colossus and want to haste it up. That is a thing that could potentially happen here. Of course, the Cultivator Colossus, I'm actually a bit surprised it's still in the deck against all these consigns, but it's possible it just has enough use cases, kind of like after the other things have been dealt with.
Drawing card for the turn here, Robin getting an Arena of Glory. We all know that card is great, especially with Flage, but no Flage around this time.
And no graveyard as well, courtesy of that Bajuka box. So quite far away from doing the Flage thing and just leaving the Quantum Riddler back on block so that the 6 doesn't get to attack and retrieve that Bajuka box. We actually see this Vexing Bubble that's been in hand for Lupi for a couple turns now, but finally decides that it's time to play it out here. And Robin can just counter it to prevent the card being drawn, but otherwise the Vexing Bubble doesn't actually do very much. So it makes sense to keep that consign for a more impressive target, as now the 6 rumbles in. Now you know that it cannot get solitude mid-combat, wasting your Dismember.
Nope. So whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards.
And Lupi here making clear which pile is the exile zone and which is the graveyard. The one with Handwear, Battlements, and Bajuka Bog is indeed the graveyard. Now gets the mill 3 and return a land from, I believe the mill card can actually return the lands that are already in graveyard to hand. But now gets access to a Prevail Titan. Okay, I'll mute for a sec.
That is pretty good there. Let's see here how Robin decides to block this.
yeah, Robin has to think, what is going on? Why would Lupi attack with a 6? Are they that desperate? But here's the block and immediately dismember. Taking 4 damage. Could have actually tapped the Lotus Field to save the life.
Yes.
Tapping for black, but has other plans with that Lotus Field. Or potentially just wants to play around Mystical Dispute, which is not something that you would normally bring in against Titan, but in case Robin did, it would be a blowout if this got hit by Mystical Dispute.
That is true.
So instead here, actually going to play out the Spelunking. That's another reason, of course, is that you just want to play the Spelunking. From the graveyard with 6's ability. And gets to draw a card and put in a cave, gain 4 life. So the 4 life from the dismember gained right back. Lupi misses.
No life miss.
Yes.
No life miss there. Echoing Deeps now in play.
And it gets to copy another land here. So potentially just getting back that handwear battlement, it looks like. We can't quite see what was pointed at off screen, but I believe that must be the card, right? It was right next to the Bajuka Bog that we see a sliver off at the bottom of the screen there.
Yeah, Lupi here kind of hiding the graveyard from us unintentionally. Passing the turn here, and let's see what Robin can do. Honestly, what does Robin need here to come back a bit?
I was hoping you wouldn't ask me that question.
Oh, sorry, Simon.
Okay,
Let me retrace.
So one thing that can happen here is the Ragavan actually gets to attack, right? He gets to make a treasure, so there is 5 mana for Robin. I wonder if the best thing he can do is just hardcast a Riddler off that, and then still get to leave up Consign. Like, it might be the best thing. He certainly does need to leave up the Consign because the Cultivator Colossus is getting kind of scary here. But a Riddler to be able to prevent the 6 from attacking and drawing extra cards, actually drawing 2 extra cards. Yeah, I believe Riddler would indeed be the best draw he could have. He could even haste it up with that Arena of Glory.
Riddler. No, Philia.
Philia, okay. Not the worst draw either. Oh, here's what he can do. He can haste up the Philia here with that Arena of Glory. Attack, blink out the 6. And then use Consign to Memory to counter Philia's trigger, stopping 6 from coming back into play.
I love that.
Yeah, this is the interaction that is the reason why this Jeskai Blink deck gets to play 4 copies of Consign main deck. Consign is such a strong hate card against decks like Belcher and Eldrazi, but you can't put 4 copies in your main deck because that would be maniacal. Unless you play something like Neoform, which uses it to counter its own pack triggers, or in this case, combines it with Philia.
There's a Rumble. Would you play that Rumble?
I think yes, because it finds a Riddler. Or it can put a Flames in the graveyard. I think Rumble is actually a really strong hit here from Robin. So I wonder if we could potentially see a comeback here. Lupi's hand needs to not be very good, especially against that Spelunking here. But yeah, maybe the Rumble here can get into something. Let's see. Look at the top 4, and Robin has to read the Rumble because that's not a card he normally plays with, making sure to know exactly how many cards, and does find a Solitude off this one. That is solid, I would say.
Yeah, Solitude, definitely a solid pick up there from Robin, and yeah, that Eldrazi spawn token is created now. And the monkey doing some trickeries there.
Yeah, so that was the Consign, countering the trigger from Philia, leaving that 6 stuck in exile here, as now... oh yeah, Lupi can actually just sacrifice that bubble end of turn, knowing that it's just a Solitude, no white card to pitch in hand, so the bubble doesn't do very much this turn, and you kind of want to draw extra cards so that you can potentially find more lands to put into play with this Cultivator Colossus.
So at this moment, Lupi has that Spelunking, an Otawara, a Forest, a Lotus Field.
Wow,
oh,
naturally drew the Analyst here. So can't go for the Cultivator Colossus because he drew 2 spells off of those draws.
1, 2, 3.
But hits 2 more lands off this one. So I wonder if there's enough bounce lands in the graveyard now where this Analyst actually makes so much mana that you can still play out the Cultivator Colossus now. That would be pretty sick.
I mean, that looks like there's a lot of lands.
Another play he could have actually gone for is play out this Shifting Woodland, copy the Titan, and give haste with the Handwear Battlement. I guess he couldn't do that because he can't access red without tapping the Lotus Field for red. If he does that, he doesn't have double green without tapping the Shifting Woodland. If it's tapped, then there's no point in giving haste to the Titan. So yeah, couldn't actually make that exact play, but can still use the Analyst here. It's not under that much pressure, so might be totally fine, even if he can't do anything, you know, super good to follow this up. Might still be fine enough.
still has the Dismember as well to deal with some creature if needed.
Yeah, that could certainly come in handy.
And really thinking there what to do, what lands do I have in my graveyard. It's a very complex
I think
one.
Actually he has enough lands in graveyard because he has the handware in the graveyard, right? I think he can actually sacrifice the Analyst, bringing back the lands, copy the Titan, give the Titan haste. Right? So he would have been able to do that here, decides not to do it. You know, it might be a bit of an unnecessary play. You know, you could just wait and do that later. Of course, you are a little bit more vulnerable to that Solitude in hand right now from Robin, if you make the play that way. But you do set up for a much better next turn.
And Simon, I see here that Robin does have that Solitude, as you said, and enough mana, and that Philia is going to attack. What does it exile? Ragavan.
Just blinks the Ragavan to get a +1 counter. That makes sense to me. It's not a very powerful play here. But yes, you are right that the Solitude Philia combo is active. Robin is going to wait for the first target for Solitude to actually come down. While there's 4 mana up, it doesn't make sense to target this Analyst here. But once the Solitude is in play and has exiled one thing, well, then you can start blinking with Philia and start answering more of Guglielmo's stuff here.
Tough one. And this is the semi-finals of the regional championship. The player that wins this will qualify for the World Championship. Lupi actually already qualified through the mocks, right?
Yes, he did indeed. The winner of the Magic Online Championship.
Is it very different to play this deck on Magic Online versus in paper?
Oh, yes. So you solve your Scapeshift, or even your Cultivator Colossus gets a bunch of lands in play, and you have to click all your untap triggers from Amulet. It takes a while. And sometimes it matters which order you stack them in. Because, yeah.
So it's actually easier to play it in paper, you would say.
Yeah, then you have to like kind of keep track of mana and such. But I think it is, well, and also during the actual loop is much like more click intensive online. So yes, I do believe it's much easier in paper. That's actually why I started playing some FNMs when I was practicing for the Pro Tour, just to get more paper games in with Amulet, because it was so untenable to practice it in Magic Online leagues.
And one thing that I want to notice is that there's 48 minutes on the clock. That means that 48 minutes have passed, of course, because this is the top 8, in this case, the semifinals of the regional championship. There is no time limit. Does that interfere with the way that players are playing this? The fact that they don't have a time constraint.
Yes, to some extent, right? You don't have to like rush yourself to finish out this game. These players will certainly be getting to a draw if Robin wins this game, if it were in the Swiss rounds. And so in order to avoid that, they'll have to speed up everything. But you can just kind of like play normally. You're not supposed to play like slow, and like you're not supposed to be able to figure out everything all the time. But you at least have, you know, a comfortable amount of time to make your decisions in these top 8 games, because they are untimed. And I do like that a lot. One of the more annoying things about playing Magic tournaments is the time constraint and how it sometimes affects how you have to play. It's also very satisfying when you go into like a game 3 with like 3 minutes on the clock and both you and your opponent just play speed Magic and you know, make no thoughts, just play your cards as fast as possible, and then until you get to that timer called, and then you start thinking through the last 5 turns. That is very satisfying when you manage to finish a game that way.
That is true, but we see that Solitude there being played. Lupi does have Aftermath Analyst, can still be sacrificed.
Yeah, very careful to leave up 4 mana here. It's going to be interesting if Robin does something that warrants the response of a Dismember from Lupi. Lupi might actually have to respond with the Analyst, sacrificing, getting back the lands, and then Dismember, so that he doesn't get caught without Analyst in play.
Okay, so acing here, the Riddler.
Is the Riddler.
Arena of Glory, that is going to ace Quantum Riddler. That is actually going to draw 2 cards. What cards are those cards? Ashiok.
Ashiok
and Shamo.
Wow, and there's a red floating from this Arena of Glory. Those were huge draws here. The issue is that the Shamo doesn't actually do that much, because the Analyst, that you could just float the mana if you try and kill the woodland, and then the Analyst can then be sacrificed afterwards. So I wonder if he has to time this in a very specific way. or if he just plays it out right now. Of course, playing out the Chamo here also means that you don't get to play the Ashiok. So it's a bit of a decision here. And the Chamo does cost, I believe, 4 mana here. There's only one colorless land in play, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So might just want to spend that mana just to play an Ashiok here. Does have to tap double blue to make this happen, or can tap the remaining lands to play the Chamo, which will have haste. It is still 4 damage in the air, not to forget. That will put Lupi down to 8 life, which is very close to lethal. Actually, like almost the attack for. Actually, if you just play the Chamo here and attack with the with everything, the Failure can blink out the Aftermath Analyst, and that's exactly 16 damage.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He doesn't know that there's a Dismember in hand.
And that Lotus Field coming really handy to being able to use the Dismember without having to pay any life.
Yes, that's going to be quite relevant here. So yeah, Robin still thinking at the current position. I wonder if the players are aware that there is a red floating here, because the question is, like, you could also just play an Ashiok instead of playing out this.
It might. The way that Robin is tapping looks like he's only going to use that mana floating plus 2 mana. So maybe that means that we are going to see the Ashiok Dream Arender.
Yeah, just playing the Ashiok instead of going for the Chamo hasty here. This is a much safer play against potential top decks from Lupi. But the question is all the trouble already available in the graveyard here? Ashiok resolves, says Lupi, but this is also going to be able to threaten to exile the graveyard.
Yeah, so that means that Lupi needs to sacrifice that Aftermath Analyst.
Which will actually strand the Analyst out of the graveyard.
Yeah, that's true.
So this is a huge play right here. And yeah, Lupi realizes, wow, if I use my Analyst on this, it's gonna get exiled and I won't have access to it anymore. And he will be reliant on winning with this Cultivator Colossus, which is gonna be tough against the board from the opponent right here.
Let's see what happens here. So it looks like activating that ability of Aftermath Analyst, sacrificing it to return all land cards from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And that is going to include some bounce land, a Bajuka Bog, a lot of lands actually.
Oh, can make blue mana with the Vestige. So can actually still do a lot here, potentially bounce the Ashiok.
Tough choice here from Lupi. There's the Spelunking, of course, making the lands untapped. Now we do have that Dismember on the Philia. The last card in Lupi's end is that Cultivator Colossus.
Alongside the Otavera, of course.
Oh yeah, and the Otawara as well.
So yeah, does kill the Philia here. This means that the Riddler, which was warped this turn, is not going to be able to be blinked. And now we resolve the Ashiok ability here, milling 4 cards and exiling the graveyard. Gone are those Titans. Gone is that Aftermath Analyst.
Here attacking with everything. So attacking for 7-9 damage. Gaining 3 life and going to exile the top card of Lupi's library because of that Ragavan.
Even more exiling here. I think Lupi might be hoping to draw into a land here so he can play the Colossus and draw even more stuff. Wait.
Oh, but now we can
because of all the colorless lands. Wow, that is sick.
Yeah, so land a treasure from the monkey and a land, and then very well played. We saw there a long time Robin thinking on auto tap, right? And it looked for a bit like to what kind of mana to leave up. Now we know why exactly.
Yeah, making sure to carefully navigate into this position where he now has a Chamo down and able to block as well. This Cultivator Colossus is, it's just not going to be big enough to be able to kill with a single strike from the Henry Battlements. So Lupi needs to have a real string of draws here. Potentially Colossus into a Titan. If he has enough mana that he'll be able to play and haste both of them. It's something that could happen. But this Chamo here, if it takes out the Gruul Turf, might shut off Lupi from accessing red mana if he needs to tap the Lotus Field for green.
Going for the shifting woodlands here.
Okay, not a bad pick either, as you pass back to Lupi here, and he's hoping for a land. That is indeed a land. Okay, the reason he's hoping for a land is this Colossus is his ticket to potentially win this game. If he's winning, it is because of this card. Can he make it happen? And can he tap his cards in the right way? Of course, the Riddler needs to warp out, and Robin is on top of that particular scenario. He also needs to be at 15, I believe, from the Solitude.
Yeah, so tapping here. Enough mana for that cultivated Colossus, which whenever enters the battlefield, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If you do, draw a card and repeat this process. How lucky does Lupi need to be here with this Colossus in order to be able to win the game?
It does help a lot that he has Spelunking in play. But he can't just like put those 2 lands into play and draw 2 spells. I don't think that's going to be enough. He needs more mana than this. He actually leaves the other hand where Garrison tapped, which I'm not sure will let him combo into something here, because now he can't haste up a Titan as well, but he draws into a Scape Shift. That is interesting.
Yeah, we have that Urza Saga as well played. We had the Seisho Otawara. There's a Spelunking in hand, as well as a Scape Shift.
Okay.
But it cannot search because of Ashiok.
Oh, true. So you have to haste up the Cultivator Colossus first and attack down the Ashiok.
Ashiok, so strong. He's the Dream Render.
Yes, it is indeed. Still does have enough mana to go haste up this Colossus and then play Scapeshift post-combat. The question is, can the Scapeshift save him? He is able to go get the Teleria West and go get a Titan. And the Titan is able to get something else. So it is a possible line here, but he goes for Spelunking instead, deciding that he might need more than this. If he goes for Spelunking, he no longer has access to a Scapeshift line.
Okay, so Spelunking here. How big is this Colossus already? 1, 2, 3,
It's
4.
11.
Okay.
Drawing into another Spelunking. Not quite enough.
Shouldn't Robin be at 15?
Yes, I believe he is at 15, yeah.
Because there was some life gain there from the Solitude, I believe.
The Colossus also doesn't have reach, right? But actually, I guess it's kind of fine, right? Because you can block the Solitude and go to 1 from the attack. So you don't really need to win this turn.
Okay, let's hear what Lupi decides to do or is able to do. Passing the turn. Just with this Colossus up. And a little forest. But this Colossus is not little.
It absolutely is not.
A big Colossus, and
11
Lupi down
here.
to 7 life.
Oh, a Solitude off the top. But if he uses this on the Colossus...
Lupi gets a lot of life.
Yeah, it does mean that Lupi survives, but it also means that he can't threaten the Ashiok.
I think that Robin needs to go for that play right here, playing that Solitude. Gets to exile that Cultivator Colossus, gaining, I guess, 11 life there.
And it must be it.
Going to 18 points of life now. Robin does have 8 damage coming through from the creatures. Also, there's the Ragavan being able to make a treasure token and exiling the top card of Lupi's library.
Woof. Okay, that is another important piece for making the Scapeshift good if you were able to get rid of that Ashiok. Now even more mill here, trying to hit important one-offs in that deck. There's not many threats left in Lupi's deck as he hits a Gargoroth and that Primeval Titan.
Okay, let's see here what Lupi is able to draw. So there's a Spelunking, there's a Scapeshift, but we know that Lupi cannot get anything from the Scapeshift due to Ashiok's passive ability, that spells and abilities your opponent control can't
make you search
for your library.
All 4 copies of Spelunking in play here. Okay, this actually means that he can bounce the Otavera and bounce the Ashiok.
Okay.
So this does enable a Scapeshift from Guglielmo here, and with Robin at 15, I wonder if he can stitch something together. It might even be something like you get like. But the issue is you can't. I think he does have a Summoner's Pact in hand, right? But you can't scapeshift into a pact anymore because you don't have Teleria West. You could potentially scapeshift into a Mirror Pool, and you can play Gargaroth and copy it, and then haste up both Gargaroths.
That would still not be enough.
No, not for lethal, but that would certainly stabilize. If you have two Gargaroths that come into play and attack, that would certainly be a very stabilizing play. The question is, does he have enough mana for all of this? It's a very committal thing. He has one blue floating right now. But the Scapeshift also does create a lot of mana when you use it, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that he could access this if he does have a second Gargaroth in his deck. He's looking for his graveyard right now to figure out what's left in his deck to even get here.
Very tough spot. A lot of things were already exiled and gone forever to that Ashiok Dream Render. There's that blue mana floating there, represented by the island with the dice being used now for that auto era, bouncing the Ashiok Dream Render. Now Lupi is able to search his library. That means that he can scape shift. But the question is, after so many things got exiled, what can he scape shift for?
So he's just going to Summoner's Pact first, see what's available. There is indeed that Gargaroth here. So yeah, he can potentially go for a... There's also the Mirror Pool available. Yes, okay, so both pieces of the playline that I'm describing are available. He should have enough lands in his deck to make this happen. The question is that better than getting a Titan? I believe it is, because it is reach as well, and vigilance, so it just leaves more defensive power. But even if he attacks here for 12 and makes 12 more power in terms of, in bodies, is that enough? Lupi determines that yes, it potentially could be enough. Wow, this is going to be a very exciting turn if he manages to stitch this together. It's going to be quite tricky, resolving the Scapeshift without tapping any of the handware battlements, making sure you have double red as well after everything is said and done, making sure you have colorless to use that Mirror Pool. There's a lot of cards, and there's not that many cards left in Lupi's deck. He also needs to make sure that he has more than 4 cards in his deck when he finishes the turn, because otherwise the Asher comes down and mills him out. And
it's been over 60 minutes, Simon.
Yes.
Wow.
This is just game 2, by the way. We can see why both of these players have a draw, huh? Actually have 3 draws. Yeah, none of these players have been defeated in the tournament yet. Both 12-0-3, countering their quarterfinals victory. So it's going to be, none of them are very used to losing in this tournament.
That is true, and Lupi here tapping for mana.
Yeah, so he's just floating mana here, and you see heart rate, steady, steady, as he's floating 6 mana here to play Escape Shift with 2 in the pool. Needs to make sure he has the right colors floating. This is going to be a very exciting turn.
And it's been such a long day for both these players. We've been live for 11 hours, so these players have been playing for 11 hours today, plus all the hours they played yesterday as well. They must be completely devastated at this point.
So sacrifice all of these lands. Make sure he probably counted the number of lands that were left in his deck. You also got to make sure that he still has enough cards to not get milled out by Ashiok. And even if he can leave 10 cards in his deck, he actually makes sure that even if Robin can find a way with the life linking and blocks to survive an extra turn, that he can still that he still doesn't die to Ashiok taking down twice. So that's another consideration potentially. So he just needs to get just enough lands to make this play happen. But it's a pretty expensive play to make. You gotta, you have the 2 red for the 2 handwares. Those are not being touched. He would like to get also activate the Ursa Saga, and then he'd like to play Gargaroth and haste it. So with the lands that are to the side here and the 2 red floating, he still needs 13 mana on top of that. But he counted it out and fetches up these lands, and I believe this is 13 mana, because Lupi is not missing a thing here.
Wow.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11,
what a
13.
master class on Amulet Titan.
He might actually be 1 short, but yeah.
Let's see exactly what happens here, as I think the players are maybe making a question, or the judge is asking something.
Yeah, he won't actually be able to make a construct here. He's 1 mana short. That's pretty funny.
Oh, wow.
As well, with everything that has happened. But, so it be. Floats a green mana here bounces that Boseiju to hand that could potentially come up as you could hit that Arena of Glory, cutting off some outs for Robin here. So maybe that's what he wants to spend that extra. Then he actually does have enough. If he wants to Boseiju the Arena of Glory, tapping the Ursa Saga, he has exactly enough mana for that play. And yeah, Robin just double-checking, making sure that the mana is correct here. This is a complicated situation. This is not something you could reasonably do with a Magic Online timer ticking down. But in paper, especially in an untimed round, you are able to make this happen. Now floating 2 colorless here, sacrificing the 2 Crumbling Vestige to that Lotus Field. Still has that Mirror Pool up. And as long as he makes sure to leave a colorless floating, he does that. There, taps this one for green. So 2 green floating here, and a colorless. Plays out Gargaroth. That will potentially make... He needs to also have a trigger from it, but he's just responding to the trigger by doing... Wait, oh, he's not hasting it up. He decided to forego the haste and instead make the construct token.
Oh, okay, I see. Why do you think he...
Oh, no. He just packed up... Oh, I see what's going on. So he just packed up all of his mana floating, but then realized, wait, actually, I would like to leave this red floating and tap my Simic Growth Chamber instead. And since no information has been gained, he should be able to make this take back. But this is a position where it's very tight for Lupi. Someone who's used to playing a ton of Magic Online, but doesn't have that much paper Magic experience. So yeah, let's see. We are able to do it like this, yeah. If you catch the mistake fast enough and you don't get an opportunity to... okay, so these are both hasted up. He does need to remember the ETB triggers from these. And he's still well within reach to make the 3/3 beasts from the Gargaroths here, because everything that's happened can happen in response to the ETB triggers.
So attacking here can create a 3/3, gain 3 life, or draw a card for each one of these Elder Gargaroths.
I wonder if we're like figuring out the beast tokens, like where they are right now, or if Lupi has not announced them and is not getting them here, because that would be a big difference maker if he's not getting those 12 extra points of power.
Simon, what is the longest Magic game that you've ever seen?
That I've ever seen?
Or that you know of?
Why is there just 1 beast here? Oh, he gained 3 life and made a beast. Yeah. And he forgot the... Oh, it's only when it attacks. It's not when it...
No, it's only enters. When it attacks or blocks.
I see. Okay, also so he gained 3 life and made 1 3/3. Okay, so the library count for Lupi here is going to be very important. Does he have 10 cards, or will the Ashok be able to mill him out in 2 turns?
We will see here.
Also, by the way, Robin's life total is now down to 3.
Somebody's saying that there's a CEDH game that was 11 hours long.
Oh, true. The finals of one of the CEDH champions, yes.
We would miss our flight, Simon.
Absolutely. Well, you wouldn't. You're flying out late tomorrow night.
Yeah, I wouldn't. You would.
Okay, steady here for Robin. Picked up just a land for turn, only has that Ashok, but he needs to make his board able to deal with these Gargaroths here. Can potentially line up some nice double blocks into those, and maybe that will be good enough.
And Lupi also has to pay still for the Pact.
True, he does still have to pay for the Pact. That's actually important to remember here. That was a while ago that Pact was cast. And that has not been indicated in any way. Let's see if he's on top of it. He remembers that he does have to do that. He can also make a construct and haste that one out. But actually, the double blocks aren't super comfortable as well for Robin here. He can put 6 power in front of one Gargaroth, 6 power in front of the other one. And even with the Trample and the Beast token attacking, I think he would still survive. The question is, can Lupi also make a construct token with that Saga? And get an Amulet to make the construct a 2/2. Like, it's going to be very close to lethal in that case.
And here Robin decides what to do.
Yeah,
at the exiled cards.
I believe that if Lupi is able to pay for Pact and also haste up a token, he should be able to do everything, actually. Yeah, the Lotus Field can tap for red to pay for Saga and Handware Battlements. The other 4 lands can pay for the Summoner's Pact. So he can make the token and get the Amulet and attack, and he will be 1 short of lethal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No.
That's what I'm counting right here.
Oh, wow.
Potentially, potentially it's a bit more than that because the Solitude, for instance, could block a Beast token instead of blocking a Gargaroth, but then it will not be taking out that Gargaroth. So yeah, the big question is here, can the Ashiok come down? And oh, there's also the Riddler that can come in and help stabilize in this position. Still drawing 2 cards, actually. I forgot about the Riddler. That is changing things here in this massive
Grabbing
game.
a Philly and another Chomo here.
The Chamo can be played off the Treasure, actually. So is able to come down. You can't get rid of double green from Lupi, so he will still be able to pay for the pact. But you could potentially just kill that Ursa Saga, which denies another construct token and further strangling the amount of power and toughness out of Guglielmo's deck. Because he doesn't have that many cards left. He could also just play the Ashiok again, make sure that it's still in play, and he does that
there it is.
indeed. I think his win con now is milling out Guglielmo here, who did make sure to leave some lands in his deck here. I wonder how many cards are left in that library.
Doesn't seem like many, but I wish we could have a count like on Arena, you know, that you can just...
Yes, just hover over it and see. All right, pays for the pact. Lupi is on top of it.
Okay, paying for the pact, having still that Lotus Field. They're providing quite a bit of mana, but the Urza Saga now on chapter 2.
So that was a brief count. Do you check how many were there? The pitch black sleeves makes it a little bit hard to actually count them from the fan out.
I'm sure somebody in chat mathematically saw from the density of the deck exactly how many cards there are.
Also, the fetch puts Robin down to 2. So he will be able to play the Amulet. Wait, there's a Saga trigger still happening. It's supposed to tick up.
Yeah, so that Saga should go to chapter 3.
Yeah, now they need to confer with the judge again to make sure that like what the if Lupi actually like forgot the trigger, or if the Saga just goes away, or what actually happens, or if we just rewind until the point where the infraction was made, which is, well, there was a land played while there was a trigger on the stack, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, this is tough. Like, it's been 72 minutes of this game, and players have been here for almost 12 hours in the venue playing, plus yesterday all day. They are tired. As you can see, their art rates are up. This is a lot of pressure, Simon.
It is indeed. So now the Saga here will make a construct. I think there might just be... Oh. Okay. Making sure to be a bit quiet, because I don't know if Lupi has the headphones on at the moment. This is practically live that we're seeing here.
Oh.
It's obviously very important that the players don't hear what we're saying.
Oh, that's true. Shh, Simon, let's be very quiet. This is now an ASMR stream. How do you call it? ASMR? ASMR stream, okay.
What did you get for breakfast?
I'm very bad at doing this.
No, you aren't.
I can't. Sorry, no.
That's like, I think 7 cards in deck there.
That's where I draw the line.
I hope. I hope that none of you like turned up your volume after the whisper session, because that would have been.
Yes, and now everyone is saying, "Honey, I'm watching Magic." I promise, it's Magic the Gathering. I always love bantering around with you, Simon.
It is good fun, as now these 2 Gargaroths get to rumble in and make 2 more 3/3 beast tokens.
So many beasts. Do you ever go for just drawing card or gaining 3 life instead, or?
I mean, I think Lupi might be in a lot of trouble because he chose to gain 3 life on the previous one. Because he is in risk of decking here. And having another 3/3 instead of 3 life is going to make a world of difference here. So it seems that the construct was made, and it seems that it was even given haste, but then actually decided not to attack after all, because it's just not a good enough attack into this board state here. And yeah, I mentioned how I love double blocks, but this is like an actual, factual board stall happening in Modern, which is even cooler with this Amulet deck.
Yes. So many little beasts. tough one here. And, I mean, Robin down to 2 life.
Yeah, we see why Lupi didn't attack with the other token, the 2 tokens there, because the Charmor could just jump in and eat one of the beasts.
I really wonder how many cards left.
Yeah, I think it was about 7. So it is, Ashok needs to survive for 1 more turn after the one Robin is getting right now, and then it's game over. So blocking like this, you could put the Charmor in front of here, essentially gaining 2 life, but giving up the Charmor instead, like giving the Lupi the opportunity to kill Charmor instead of Solitude. But you are blocking 2 more points of trample.
Tough choice. Looks like a limited game, you know, just declaring
really
your
does.
double blockers. Those Solitudes do have lifelink, very important to know, and the Gargarod has trample.
Oh, Robin is thinking if he should keep both of his flyers here, leaving that Gargaroth around. Depending on what he's drawn, it could make sense to try and pivot into attacking in the air. But he would have needed to draw an answer for that Gargaroth copy, which is, by the way, that's what the copy token is representing. That's another Elder Gargaroth. Like, this is just crazy. We're seeing Elder Gargaroth, 2 Elder Gargaroths attacking in top 4 of a regional championship in Modern? Excuse me.
At minute 76.
Minute 76 in game 2.
When Simon already showed his off-shoulder and did some ASMR all during this round.
Yes, it's true.
And we still might have a game 3.
And we still might have a game 3. I hope that my throat can handle it in terms of the coughing that I'm doing at the moment.
Yes, yes. I'm glad that you took a break on round 14, because otherwise I think you would be just gone right now.
I would have been like this.
Yes.
ASMR, but just that was the best thing my voice would be able to do.
Insane round, everyone. You need a hot tea after this, Simon.
I do. I have been drinking tea all day. I actually ordered a hot chocolate on my way out, when I was having my break.
Oh, so lucky. Nice.
And then I ordered the hot chocolate, and then I just got hot milk.
Very nice.
From the dispenser. So, yeah, that was a bit of a disappointment.
I mean,
it's healthier.
it's healthier. Yeah. Maybe that's a sign. Blocking here. Okay, so it looks like the Charmot and double Solitude on the Elder Gargarod and the...
Yeah, and killing
Riddler
both Solitudes. It makes sense to get rid of the lifelinkers, both of them, rather than killing the Charmo and leaving 1 Solitude in play. But it does mean that Robin is now at 8 life and actually has a board that stabilizes against these beast tokens. So Guglielmo needs to draw something like a Primeval Titan to potentially attack for enough here to win the game, but there's just so much more stuff in Robin's hand there with another Charmo and the Ashok that ticks down again. Yeah, this is a pretty funky game.
Pretty funky game as indeed. So we do have now here that Obsidian Charmo in hand, Philia as well, and Fable of the Mirror Breaker. So we are using this Arena of Glory. Something is going to come out with Ace. That's going to be Charmo, I believe.
Oh, I see now the play that Robin was considering, which was to block in a way where he leaves the copy Gargaroth in play, but leaves his Riddler in play as well by just jumping with the Ragavan. It was a possible line he could take there, actually. Then he would be able to haste out the Philia and haste out this Charmo, but he didn't know he would draw Charmo for turn. So didn't know they actually had lethal available through that line. But this is still huge. The Philia can come in and blink out a beast token. The Charmo comes in and deals with one of these battlements.
So that takes care of the land.
Apparently didn't have enough red mana to also play a Fable here. Unless there is a red land, I'm just not seeing them right. There might be a red land still.
Yeah, I think the middle land is a Izzet land.
Like a Siemens, yeah. So yeah, there's just so much defense here from Robin, and he's feeling very comfortable here, just playing like, you know, Jeskai Mill with this Ashiok.
Attacking here with Philia, gets to blink something. So attacking here the Philia, going to blink one of the beasts. That's gone forever. The other beast though blocks the Philia, so that is gone as well. 3 mana. We are going to get that first. Minusing Ashiok. Ooh, two Titans in the exiled. 2 Titan exile, and now we have Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Wow.
I think those were the ones that Lupi was hoping to draw into. He just draws an Amulet and has nothing left in his deck. Robin's Jeskai control deck apparently has exhausted all the threats from Lupi's Amulet Titan deck, despite a turn where he played 2 Gargarots and hasted them up. It was not enough. A crazy game.
Wow. I'm just going to say it out there. Wow, wow, wow. I cannot believe we are going to have a game number 3. That Ashiok Dream Render was just so good all game around, and very well played by both players. I cannot believe I saw an Elder Gargarot beat down from Titan's side.
Yeah, that was huge. I see the chat mentioning a 3 mana Charm Maul for only 2 mana, but there was probably a mana floating from that Arena of Glory activation, is what happened there. Yes, now these players are, well, they have to gear up for game 3. And for Robin here, this is fighting for a World Championship invite.
Somebody's saying that for game 3 I should dress as you, Simon, but I don't have any.
I mean, we have plenty of Blazers in the building.
Yeah. If somebody wants to bring me a blazer, I can dress as Simon.
If somebody wants to... sorry. For anyone who's wearing headphones right now for the ASMR session, that was just a yelling session by Simon.
Yeah, Simon is going through all the ranges, just testing out the different ranges that these can go. Yeah, I mean...
I was about to just ask Martin and Andrea for a blazer, which maybe someone that I'm looking at right now could ask Martin to borrow his blazer.
Oh my god, have you looked at Martin's size? It will literally be a giant dress on me.
Andrea's blazer is better.
I'm like 1.55 m and Martin's like 1.95 m.
I also realized I have a mute button. I could just like go and fix this without alerting or hurting anyone's ears.
Simon, you are so funny, as our players here now are sideboarding for game 3. For sure now this is going to be the last game here of our matchup. This is the semifinals of the regional championship. Over 1,000 players came here this weekend to play, and I've heard that we are going to have a spotlight series in January that's going to be in Lyon. So go to my.fanfinity.gg to make sure that you see what events we are having here and register yourself. I think there's also some good deals on the site this weekend only, so be there, join us, have fun, and yeah, I think the format is standard.
It is indeed. I'm certainly going to be in Lyon for that. Looks like there's a ton of exciting events, both for people interested in limited and standard and side events of all different types. So, you know, you want to get those side event vouchers? Well, you have, you know, just a few more hours today. Less than 3 hours to get that offer on Fanfinity's website. As we now take a look here again at that Amulet deck list, gearing up for game 3.
Yeah, and everyone is shouting out there the Portuguese judge. We have Portuguese judge passing around.
Oh, I see. Yes.
Not a lot. No, Portuguese players unfortunately not doing too well here this weekend. I'm sad. I always love to have a Portuguese player on the top 8. Maybe next time.
You know, I'm also rooting for Lupi because he was in my Final Fantasy draft, like not Final Fantasy, in my fantasy draft for this event, the caster picks. I don't know if we've gone over actually and seen the results of the caster picks yet.
We don't want to see that, Simon. Oh. We don't want to see it. Okay. I might have the lowest points that anyone ever got, ever. I did really bad. But I think you did very well, though. I think your theory of players that are already qualified for the Pro Tour will do better was correct.
Potentially. I mean, if we like compare win rates, it's probably like a wash. But it was at least fun to you know, take a look at it in that sense.
Yeah. You know, I want the game to go to 99 minutes, so I can be like, these players have 99 problems, but the time ain't one. Let us know, Twitch chat, YouTube, how many minutes do you think this game is going to take? So take your guesses. I will say 99 minutes.
99 minutes. Yeah,
that's my prediction.
And I think it'll be more than 100. I think it absolutely could be more than 100.
Somebody's saying 8 minutes, someone will move to 3. Wow.
Okay, I mean, that works as well.
Okay, so we are starting 86 minutes already on the clock as this is game 3 here. And now we have Lupi on the play very fast here with that Grazer in Bajuka Bog entering tapped. Nothing to exile though.
Yeah, Bajuka Bog not doing that part of its ability. All right, we now see Ragavan come down here, and it is being challenged by that Boreal Grazer in this moment.
Yeah, Spelunking, such a great card in this Titan deck. Little Monkey not going to attack much here. And we see that Elder Gargaroth.
Yeah, you can actually play Simic Growth Chamber into Elder Gargaroth here, pick up that Crumbling Vestige, and just play out that one. Instead of going for Escape Shift, that's potentially risky, into a Consign. Just playing out the Gargaroth here, and yeah, that's not something you can Consign from Robin's side. You can Solitude it, however, and that might be the answer that Robin is sitting on right here.
Yeah, I mean, 6/6 for 5 mana. Vigilance, Reach, Trample. And let's see here if Robin is able to Solitude that.
Yeah, so the Gargaroth is not what's going to win the game here for Lupi this time around, but it's also kind of just a distraction, honestly.
That is true. I mean, it's something that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible.
Ghost Vacuum going into the graveyard. That's a soft hate piece for the combo from Lupi's deck. And now there's a second Solitude being picked up, which means you don't have to pitch that Philia. That was actually, I think, the decision there for Robin. Do you get an untapped land and just play the Philia, but then you don't have any other white card to play that Solitude? Now just picked up that second white and can now just do the Solitude, play a Fable, or still pass with Philia up again, depending on what you feel like. The Ragavan's still solidly locked down behind that wall of Sloth.
Yeah, all depends on what you're feeling and Philia-ing.
In the moment,
that
yes,
was
exactly.
Terrible. Solitude here, going to pitch the Philia. Philia is now exiled. Yeah, and okay, Frank is giving me some stats, and I know they're going to be interesting. So let me read it here. I checked, and this could get close to the longest best of 3 match ever. But according to Mark Rosewater, the finals at the first Pro Tour 96 between Loconto and Lestri would be a marathon event. Loconto was playing a white-blue Milestone deck, while Lestri was playing a white-green Hernham deck. Armageddon, wow. Both slow controlling decks. The finals stretched out on and on. All in all, the finals lasted 4 hours. 4 hours. And that was after the judges decided to make it 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 5.
That is incredible. Could you imagine being the judge like, okay,
you know,
this is now the first game. We're just gonna change the rules and make it best of 3. Go to sideboard, please.
Yep.
With the Millstone deck against the against the Urnham Jin Armageddon deck, which was a nice green-white deck back at the time.
Yeah, we might have here then, after that, the longest recorded Magic game, best of 3 in history.
This is, however, this is Robin being tapped out to play the Fable here. This is Lupi tapping 4 lands, floating mana to play Escape Shift. This is Lupi potentially being able to do the combo here through, like, because there's nothing that Robin can have. He doesn't play free spells other than Solitude, and Solitude doesn't interact with Escape Shift kill. So this game, in contrary to the one we just saw, is just gonna finish here on turn 3. 4, I guess it is.
Let's see then what that escape shift can do if Lupi is able to just combo out here.
4 lands, gonna get Lotus Field, Simic Growth Chamber, Tolaria West. He still has all the pieces left in his deck. He might, oh, I see him thumb past the Lotus Fields. He might have a different plan for this one.
Okay.
He has a second Scape Shift, so he could use the first one just to generate a bit more mana. Okay, I'm just gonna check if there's anything he's supposed to play around here from the Jeskai Blink side.
We know about Solitude.
Surgical Extraction.
Okay.
1 copy of Surgical Extraction is what's going through Lupi's mind right now. Can he get enough resources so that he can combo for a Surgical Extraction? If he generates enough mana, if he just gets 4 Crumbling Vestige on this turn, and then plays the second Scape Shift. Oh, he also has to make sure he has Delirium, actually. Well, I guess the combo naturally gets you Delirium, so that's not that much of a concern. But if the Surgical hits the Scape Shift, or the Summoner's Pact that's going to be gotten later in the combo, removes that from the graveyard, you could actually end up without Delirium. So that's why he's eyeing that Urza's Saga right here. But if he's able to get up to the loop with... he needs to get to the loop with enough mana that he can copy the Analyst twice. He could potentially pair on a Surgical. He might also go for a completely different line, where he, for instance, goes for, let's say, a Cultivator Colossus in this situation, which is much safer against a card like Surgical, rather than going for the loop here. So he's just going for some lands that are involved in the loop on this turn here. He has 1 green floating. He's going to copy a Crumbling Vestige, it seems like.
Yeah, and I have to say, Simon, here art rates are going up as
yeah, they
Lupi
are indeed.
does perform.
Lupi knows that he's performing a loop that can potentially win the game as long as he doesn't mess it up. Here's the second Scape Shift here to turn these 4 lands into something else.
And the insane thing is that Lupi is already qualified for the World Championship. That means that even if Lupi wins, there's going to be a pass down, and Robin can actually be also world world qualification, depending on how the other semifinal goes.
It's going to be between Robin and Pierre for that pass down, depending on who loses the quarterfinals. So if Pierre wins the quarterfinals, the other one, or the semifinals, I mean, the other semifinals, that means Robin will actually get into the World Championship as he's 3rd seed, but Pierre was 1st seed, and if he loses the semifinals, he will be invited to the World Championship. So that puts actually, if Lupi wins here, that puts Pierre in a really good spot. Because no matter what happens, he'll actually be invited to the World Championship.
That is true.
Okay, so here we see, that's the classic loop. Lotus Field, getting Tolaria West, getting the Analyst, going infinite here.
Wow.
Classic loop. Lupi was just going for it with extra protection because of that second Scape Shift. And that was a turn 4 kill after a marathon game that ended with Titan being milled out by Ashok.